There was a time back in the early 2000s when the threat of EMPs seemed like a wild theory. Yet today, the US government takes the threat of EMPs seriously, with dedicated meetings and plans for preparedness and ways to safeguard against such attacks. All these preparations make you wonder, doesn't it? Why the concern? In my opinion, an EMP attack represents the worst-case scenario. One of the books I have read in preparation for this video, and one I'd highly recommend reading, is 1 Second After by William R. Forstchen. This fictional novel, set in Black Mountain, South Carolina, explores the aftermath of an EMP disaster in vivid detail. But if you don't have time to read it, don't worry, I've got you covered. Okay, so first, let's talk about what exactly an EMP attack even is, and how to prepare for one. Let me put it simply. Imagine a giant burst of electricity that zaps everything in a huge area. That's basically an EMP attack. It stands for electromagnetic pulse, and it can mess up electronics and important systems over a wide range. Like a giant power surge, an EMP can fry the tiny circuits inside our electronics, from our phones and computers to things like car engines and medical equipment. It can also disrupt power grids, phone lines, and anything else that relies on electricity to function. Basically, an EMP attack could throw our whole way of life into disarray. Now, there are two ways EMPs can happen. First, they can happen naturally. The sun is a giant ball of fire, and sometimes it throws out super strong bursts of energy called solar flares. These flares can send out EMPs that travel through space and hit Earth. If a big enough solar flare hits us, it could cause widespread blackouts and damage electronics. But they can also happen because of some things humans do. This might sound like science fiction, but countries can build weapons that create EMPs. These weapons are detonated like bombs, but instead of a big explosion, they release a powerful EMP that can fry electronics over a large area. A big enough EMP bomb could knock out electronics across an entire continent. Imagine an entire city going dark, with cars stalling, lights going out, and ATMs refusing to work. That's the kind of chaos an EMP attack could cause. Scary, right? I know what you might be thinking. What if the EMP attack hits us? What would happen? Imagine a massive power outage that lasts for weeks, even months. That's what could happen if a big enough EMP hit the country. The most immediate impact would be the loss of electricity, plunging homes into darkness, rendering refrigerators useless, and incapacitating most appliances. Gas stations rely on electricity to pump gas, so filling stations would be out of commission, leading to long lines and panic buying as people rush to fill their tanks before the gas runs out. ATMs and credit card machines wouldn't work without electricity, making cash king. But even accessing cash could be difficult, as banks would likely be closed and ATMs out of service. The loss of electricity would have a ripple effect on many other essential services. Water treatment plants and sewage systems could stop functioning, leading to water shortages and sanitation problems. And communication networks would be disrupted, making it difficult to stay informed or contact loved ones. Modern cars rely heavily on electronics, so many vehicles wouldn't start after an EMP attack. Traffic lights would be out, adding to the chaos on the roads. And public transportation systems that rely on electricity, like subways and light rail, would also be out of service. In a worst-case scenario, a large-scale EMP could knock out most of the power grid for a long time, making life without all the modern conveniences we rely on feel like being thrown back in time to a simpler, much more challenging way of life. All right, you've been prepping. As preppers, we usually try to prepare ahead of time. We try to be prepared for whatever comes our way. But what should you do if it happens today? I'm not going to waste your time talking about what you should have done before an EMP. Instead, let me tell you what you should do immediately after an EMP event. Your first priority is to gather information. Since communication systems might be down, try tuning into a battery-powered radio for updates. Local radio stations will likely be your best source of reliable information in the aftermath of an EMP event. Once you have some information, try to reach out to family and friends nearby. Remember, cell phones might not work, so prearrange a meeting point in case of emergencies. Having a plan in place will help you connect with your loved ones during a stressful time. An EMP attack could lead to social unrest. Make sure your home is secure and you have a plan to protect yourself and your family. Board up windows if necessary and have a fire extinguisher on hand in case of electrical malfunctions. Take stock of your supplies and resources. Check on your food and water stores and make sure you have a way to purify water if needed. Don't forget to check on your first aid kit and any medications you or your family rely on. Also remember, cooperation is key in any crisis. Check on your neighbors and work together to overcome challenges. Helping each other out will make the situation easier for everyone. While an EMP would be a serious event, there are ways to prepare and survive. Let's discuss these in more detail now. Step 1. Get home safe. If you're caught outside when an EMP hits, your first priority is to get home safely. If your car is still working, get moving. Head straight for your home base, the place you've planned to be in case of emergencies. Traffic jams are likely, so be prepared for delays. Consider taking back roads or side streets to avoid the worst of the congestion. Also, an important thing I would advise is that if your car sputters out, don't panic. Grab your pre-packed go bag and start walking or biking home. Remember, everyone else will be trying to get home too, so be prepared for crowds. Look for safe shortcuts or paths that might be less crowded. Step 2. Stock up on supplies. Now that you're home safe, it's time to gather supplies. Remember, in times like these, cash is king. Since electronics won't work, cash will be the most valuable currency. Make sure you have some cold hard cash on hand, in small denominations if possible. Also, if you can safely get to a store, focus on grabbing essential supplies: food, water, batteries, first aid items, and hygiene products. Don't go overboard. Prioritize necessities over luxury items. Consider grabbing a multi-tool or a basic toolkit, which can be useful for repairs in a world without electricity. Even if you think you have enough supplies, it's better to have extra. You can always share or barter these supplies later on. Consider bartering for items you might not have thought of, like seeds for planting or basic medications. But let me give you a word of caution here. Being prepared is all about being smart. Don't risk your safety by trying to grab everything at once. Focus on getting back home and securing your basic needs first. If you have time and the situation allows, help others who might be struggling to get home or find supplies. Step 3. Watch out for fires. EMPs can be dangerous because they can mess with electronics and cause sparks. This can lead to electrical fires. Once you're home, check your place thoroughly for any signs of fire, like smoke or flickering lights. Pay close attention to appliances and devices that were plugged in when the EMP hit. Don't forget to check your garage or workshop for power tools, batteries, and other equipment that might be a fire hazard. Look for any signs of damage or overheating, and unplug anything that seems suspicious. Another thing I usually do, and would advise you to do as well, is that after you're done checking your own home, take a quick look around your neighborhood. Look for downed power lines, sparking transformers, or any other signs of potential fire hazards. If you see something dangerous, alert your neighbors and stay clear of the area. Remember to bring your fire extinguisher with you, just in case. Step 4. Check your electronics. Once you've taken care of immediate safety concerns, it's time to assess your electronics. If you've invested in Faraday bags, great. Your most important electronics should be safe and sound inside those bags. Faraday bags act like EMP shields, blocking the EMP from damaging the devices inside. They're made of a special material that conducts electricity around the outside of the bag, protecting the contents from the EMP's pulse. Now's the time to see which of your other electronics survived the EMP. Turn on your devices and see what works and what doesn't. Unfortunately, some devices might be fried. Make a list of the electronics that are still working and those that are damaged. This will help you prioritize your needs and figure out how to replace or repair essential devices. But what if you don't have a Faraday bag? Then now is the time to start thinking about getting one. You can find these bags online or at some electronics stores. They're a good investment to protect your essential electronics in case of future EMP events. Consider getting different-sized bags to accommodate various devices, from smartphones and laptops to radios and medical equipment. Step 5. Secure your water supply. Clean water is essential for survival. Don't trust the tap in times like these. Water treatment plants rely on electricity to function. After an EMP, they might not be working. This means the water coming out of your taps could be contaminated with bacteria, parasites, or other harmful substances. Don't risk getting sick. If you have a water filtration system, that's great. You can use it to purify any water you find, whether it's from your bathtub, a nearby stream, or rainwater collection. If you don't have a filter, now's the time to consider getting one. There are many different types of water filters available, so you can find one that fits your needs and budget. Consider gravity-fed filters, which don't require electricity to operate, or hand pump filters that are easy to use without relying on batteries. While you still have running water, fill up every container you can find with clean water. Bathtubs, buckets, jugs, anything that can hold water will be useful. Consider using a water bladder specially designed for storing large quantities of water. These can be filled up in your bathtub and then stored elsewhere, freeing up your tub for other uses. Label your containers with the date the water was collected so you can prioritize using the freshest water first. In addition to storing water, think about how you'll be able to collect and purify water in the long term. If you live near a source of clean water, like a freshwater spring or a mountain stream, research how to safely collect water from these sources. You may also want to invest in rainwater collection barrels to capture rainwater for later use. By having a plan for collecting and purifying water, you'll be better prepared to survive an extended period without access to clean tap water. Step 6. Stay informed. After an EMP event, communication will be disrupted. But let me tell you some ways you can make sure you stay informed. I'd recommend to get yourself a hand crank or solar-powered radio. This will be your lifeline to the outside world. Local radio stations will likely be your best source of information after an EMP. Listen for updates on the situation, safety instructions, and any potential dangers like radiation exposure. Step 7. Secure your transportation. After the initial chaos subsides, check if any of your vehicles still work. Don't forget to check ATVs, motorcycles, or RVs. Working vehicles will be a valuable asset in an EMP situation. They can be used for transportation, evacuation, or even bartering for essential supplies. Now, if you are lucky and your vehicle is working, consider hiding it. Park it in your garage or somewhere discreet to prevent it from being stolen. In a crisis situation, people might become desperate for transportation. Having a hidden vehicle can give you a significant advantage when it comes to getting around or getting out of town if necessary. Step 8. Stay put, for now. One of my biggest pieces of advice in situations like these would be to be patient. Don't rush out. Don't head outside immediately after an EMP event. Wait for the information from the radio before venturing out. You don't know what caused the EMP. It could be a simple solar flare or something more serious, like a nuclear event. If it was a nuclear event, there could be dangers like radiation exposure outside, which is why you shouldn't risk it. Stay inside your home until you have a clearer picture of the situation. Are there any immediate dangers outside, like downed power lines or fires? What resources are available in your neighborhood? By waiting for information, you can avoid unnecessary risks and make informed decisions about your next steps. Step 9. Decide to stay or go. Once you have some information and the initial chaos is settled, you'll need to decide whether to stay put or evacuate. But how do you decide on that? Let me break it down into several factors for you. If you live in a big city, an EMP could mean major disruptions to your way of life. Think grocery stores with empty shelves, gas stations with no pumps working, and limited access to public services like clean water and sanitation. Law enforcement and medical services might also be overwhelmed. In this situation, evacuating might be a good option, especially if you have a well-stocked go bag, a reliable vehicle, and a safe place to go, like a remote cabin or a friend or family member's home in a rural area. But what if you're living in a rural area? Then staying put might be the best option, especially if you have a garden, a well for water, and other resources that can help you be more self-sufficient. While there might be challenges like limited access to medical care or certain supplies, you'll likely have more space to grow food, collect rainwater, and manage without electricity for a longer period. Step 10. Take stock. Now that you have a plan, it's time to take inventory of your supplies. Gather your emergency supplies and do a thorough check. Look at your food and water reserves, first aid kit, medications, sanitation items like toilet paper and soap, etc. Make a list of everything you have and identify any gaps in your supplies. Consider how long your current supplies will last and what additional items you might need to collect in the coming days or weeks. Once you know what you have, it's important to store your supplies securely. This will help prevent theft or damage from looters or wild animals. Consider using lockable containers or hiding your supplies in discreet locations around your home, like a basement, attic, or crawl space. If you're bugging out, pack your essential supplies in a sturdy go bag that you can easily carry or transport in your vehicle. Step 11. Ration your food. Food is essential for survival. Let me share some of my favorite tips on how you can make the most out of your supplies. Start by eating your perishable food items first. This will prevent them from spoiling and going to waste. Once you've eaten the fresh food, move on to your non-perishable, long-term storage items like canned goods, dried beans, and grains. Also, consider creating a rationing plan to ensure your food supplies last as long as possible. Figure out how much food each person in your household needs per day based on their age and activity level. Then create a meal plan that fits within your rations. Focus on nutritious, high-calorie foods that will keep you feeling full and energized. Make sure everyone in your family understands the importance of sticking to the plan to avoid running out of food too quickly. You can also try to find or grow additional sources of food, such as hunting, fishing, or foraging for wild plants. Step 12. Protect yourself from radiation. While an EMP itself doesn't cause radiation, it could be linked to a nuclear event, which does. Let me tell you what you should do if that's the case. If there's even a whisper of a nuclear event, take your potassium iodide pills according to the instructions. These pills help protect your thyroid gland from radioactive iodine, which can be released in a nuclear explosion. However, please note that while I have confirmed this with multiple doctors, you should always consult your doctor before starting any medication, since there are conditions where these pills might not be fit for you. Also, if you have a radiation detector like a Geiger counter, use it to check for radiation levels in your environment. This will help you make informed decisions about staying indoors or taking additional precautions. If you don't have a detector, monitor news reports and official advisories for updates on radiation threats. Stay tuned to battery-powered or hand-crank radios for crucial information. Step 13. Sanitation matters. Even in a crisis, hygiene is important. Let me show you one of the tricks I've learned on how to stay clean even when there is no running water. Without a functioning sewage system, waste disposal becomes a challenge. Find a suitable spot in your backyard and dig a latrine pit. This will help prevent the spread of disease and keep your environment clean. There are resources online and in preparedness guides that detail how to properly dig and maintain a latrine. In the absence of a shovel, you can improvise with a bucket or other sturdy container to remove waste and then bury it far from your living area. Always maintain good hygiene practices like washing hands frequently, especially after using the latrine or handling waste. You can use collected rainwater, boiled or treated water for hand washing. Step 14. Fortify your home. In a crisis situation, people might become desperate, so make sure you protect your home. Let's go through some of my suggestions. First, I'd recommend boarding up your windows with plywood or any sturdy material you can find. This will deter break-ins and protect your windows from flying debris or harsh weather. If you have shutters or metal security screens on your windows, use those instead of boarding them up. Secondly, make sure your doors are strong and have functioning deadbolts. Consider adding additional security measures like door braces or security bars. Reinforce weak points around doors, such as door frames and hinges. Also, secure your valuables and essential supplies. Create hidden storage spaces or use discrete locations within your home. This could include places like crawl spaces, attics behind built-in shelves, or even buried in inconspicuous locations in your yard. Be sure to remember where you hid your valuables so you can easily access them later. And while we're on the topic of surviving a disaster, click the video on screen now to find out the 17 items you can't be without in a disaster.